to live in gun clubs, and we will not comply with the governor's gun laws that make no sense. I voted against the SAFE Amendment, or the SAFE Act. I am a co-sponsor on amendments to repeal it, to gut it, to put it in the trash heap of history, along with other failed socialist experiments, because we are Americans. We are not subjects. We are citizens. What this governor and his friends in the state legislature do not realize is that the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the state of New York are one document, not separate documents that you can peel apart amendment by amendment. The Second Amendment to the Constitution is part of the fabric of America. You cannot repeal the Second Amendment and have the First Amendment. The news media, the liberal news media, that is still cheering on this governor and saying that the SAFE Act was necessary to control crime and acts of terrorism. The Second Amendment is not about hunting, it is about self-defense, and it's necessary to protect every one of us against crime. And to all of those liberals in the news media, let us remind them that they depend upon the First Amendment to the Constitution, but without the Second Amendment, there is no First Amendment to the Constitution. All of the liberals in America's colleges and universities that support this governor and are now behind this so-called tax-free New York program. Don't you forget, Mr. and Mrs. Professor, that without the Second Amendment, there is no academic freedom in our colleges and universities. If you want to thank anybody for your freedom, whether as a journalist and a reporter for the national news media or the Albany Times-Union or any of the New York City newspapers that have been supporting the governor, look to the people standing in this crowd. We are the ones that guarantee your freedoms. And as for Governor Cuomo and Michael Bloomberg and Sheldon Silver, all of whom... Now, come on, have some sympathy for Sheldon Silver. He's got to defend himself in all those lawsuits brought by all those women who have been sexually harassed and assaulted in the state legislature under his nose. Sheldon Silver is part of the cesspool of corruption of this town, and Sheldon Silver has got to go. And do not forget that Sheldon Silver and Michael Bloomberg and Andrew Cuomo travel with bodyguards with weapons which you, as citizens, are not allowed to own. Because they believe that their lives and their families are more important than your lives and your families. Michael Bloomberg has his mansion in Bermuda, and he bribed the government of Bermuda to let his personal armed security detail onto that island where nobody can have guns because he believes he's more important than you are. Andrew Cuomo has a lieutenant governor that packs a Beretta that on the day of the signing of the SAFE Act was an illegal gun in New York State. But that lieutenant governor, Bob Duffy, he didn't think twice about carrying that firearm with him into that ceremony. Michael Bloomberg needs to learn the definition of hypocrite. Andrew Cuomo needs to understand that we are citizens, we are not servants, he is the public servant. And as for the governor's women's agenda, I have, in addition to the governor's women's agenda, that has already been provided by the Second Amendment, and that is every woman's right to defend herself with the firearm of her choice. The Second Amendment is not about how many bullets it takes to kill a deer. Whether it be the women's agenda or an economic development agenda, it's time for these people in Albany to start listening to the people. And we are the people. This governor needs to understand something very clear, that from this day forward, we will start focusing on the next year's elections. This is an army. This is an army of campaign workers. This is an army of law enforcement professionals, of county clerks, of mental health professionals, and of citizens who will not tolerate an infringement of our rights. And this governor needs to understand that our county clerks will not disclose, our sheriffs will not enforce, our mental health professionals will not snitch, and as citizens, we will not obey this law. From this day forward, every one of us needs to make sure that we are registered to vote, that our families are registered to vote, that our friends are registered to vote, and that we go out and vote next year and turn out of office any member of the state legislature who has voted for the SAFE Act, regardless of their excuses. One legislator said, well, I voted for it, but now I realize it needed amending. Why didn't you read the damn bill before you voted on it? And if this governor says that through civil disobedience we are extremists, then I am proud to be in the company of fellow extremists. And throughout the history of America, we are a nation built by extremists. If we're extremists, then George Washington was an extremist. And so was Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. And around the world, every place you see free men and women, you will find behind them extremists. Mahatma Gandhi in India liberated an entire country from colonial rule, and they called him an extremist. Martin Luther King Jr., in writing for a letter from a Birmingham jail, said that it is just to disobey unjust laws. Well, Rosa Parks was an extremist when she refused to get off that bus. Susan B. Anthony was an extremist when she dared to vote. There is a long history in America and around the world of extremists protecting individual rights, and we are all extremists. We join their company, and we will not back down. I see in this crowd small businessmen like Frank Calgano of American Sportsman and Dave Dentico from the Cussman Shop, and small businessmen all across upstate New York who have started businesses, employ people. This crowd has created more jobs through your small businesses than all of Governor Cuomo's so-called economic development plans. And if he thinks that creating tax-free zones is going to create jobs in upstate New York, I'll tell you how to create jobs. Allow the business community to do its thing without the highest in the nation taxes, the most oppressive in the nation regulations, and a governor and a government that is hostile to business. Today begins the 2014 campaign to repeal the SAFE Act. Each one of you has a job. Each one of us has a job. Let's go out and do it. God bless America. Thank you very much.
We've selected our speakers very, very carefully.